The story begins at S High School, showing a first-year classroom and the main character, Takuya Seo, who looks nervous. He holds a Kiraman eraser, something only loyal fans own. It is explained that he isn't a regular otaku, but an otaku who loves anime made for young girls. Takuya says there's no real reason to bring the eraser to school, but he brought it anyway. Before he can finish talking, a girl suddenly asks to borrow his school supplies. Nervous, he tells her to wait, but she insists it's only for a second, and Takuya can't refuse. Kotoko Ijichi and Kei Amane, two of Takuya's female classmates, are introduced. Holding the eraser, Kotoko asks if the drawing is Pokemon. Takuya explains that it isn't, and starts talking about the anime. Kotoko ignores the explanation and jokes that the design looks like Pikachu. Takuya continues explaining that it's Cappy, a character from episode 4. But suddenly Amane corrects him, saying it appears in episode 2 instead. Takuya is shocked, and it's explained that otaku can't help correcting people quickly and accurately. Kotoko becomes excited when her friend mentions the anime and claims Amane knows a lot about it. Amane quickly defends herself, saying her little sister loves the anime. But Takuya becomes suspicious. Her knowledge seems too detailed. Maybe Amane is secretly an otaku too. Confused, Takuya thinks there's a chance she might be a fan like him. He decides to talk to her. But before he can speak, Amane yells that he misunderstood everything and only her sister likes the show. Embarrassed, Takuya apologizes, and Amane firmly ends the conversation. Still, Takuya asks if she would be interested in a limited edition Kiraman keychain. When he takes it out, Amane freezes in the hallway. She comes closer and realizes it's Orochi, a rare item from the first comic volume. She says she had been looking for it but couldn't find it, then realizes she revealed too much and quickly changes her story, saying her sister was the one searching for it. Takuya becomes even more convinced she's secretly an otaku. After he gives her the keychain, Amane is incredibly happy. She again says her sister will love it and promises to give Takuya something the next day. Later, Kotoko shows up and asks if the keychain is from that show, Kiraman. Lying on his desk, Takuya realizes they're talking about his favorite anime. Kotoko says the keychain is cute and she might get interested in the show, and asks Amane to explain the story. Takuya tries to stay calm. He thinks this is every otaku's dream, someone asking about the story and character. He believes this moment is like a divine blessing. He then wonders how Amane will handle it, seeing how nervous she is. Panicking, Amane wants to say something, but knows that if she speaks too much, they will discover she's an otaku. Kotoko notices her tension and asks if something is wrong. Amane quickly recovers and says the question was so good that she froze for a moment and will happily show Kotoko what the show is about. The next day, Kotoko is confused since she thought Amane didn't like the anime. Amane once again says it's her sister who is the fan, not her. Takuya hears everything. The next day, Takuya holds a pen, thinking about everything that happened. His thoughts are interrupted when Kotoko grabs his eraser again. He says she could ask before taking it. Kotoko notices this eraser is different and asks if the character is Rizuku. Takuya realizes Kotoko must have read the manga. Kotoko explains that she borrowed the manga from Amane. Excited, Takuya starts explaining the comic version and the story adaptation. At the same time, he feels guilty thinking he's getting carried away, but Kotoko is fully focused and says she wants to hear more. Takuya becomes shy and stutters. Suddenly, Kotoko says that Takuya looks like Roman, the hero's friend in the story. Takuya strongly disagrees, but Kotoko insists he looks like him because he has cute round eyes. Embarrassed, Takuya turns red and Kotoko laughs. Then Amane walks over and asks if they're talking about Kiraman. Another day, Amane is with her friends talking about dieting and cosmetics. They ask her what she spends her money on. Amane almost mentions Kiraman accessories but stops mid-sentence, and Takuya catches the slip. The girls then notice an accessory on Amane's bag. Takuya sees it too. It's clearly something from the anime. Overjoyed, he believes this confirms she's an otaku, but Amane denies it again. She says she doesn't know what they're talking about and claims her sister forced her to use it. Takuya becomes even more confused. Trying to get information, Takuya asks if she hates Kiraman. Amane immediately says, of course, then regrets it and softly admits she loves the anime, but not enough to be called an otaku. She only watches whatever her sister watches. She asks him not to misunderstand. As they leave school, Kotoko joins them and asks if they're going home together. Takuya is stunned by everything. Even so, he asks to take a closer look at the accessory on Amane's bag. The next day, Kotoko tries to be friendly and asks if Takuya has an Instagram account. He gets nervous and asks why she's asking. She says it's just curiosity. Takuya says yes, but his account is private because he doesn't want others to see it. Suddenly, Kotoko finds his profile because it was already logged in earlier. Looking through it, Amane notices something and asks if all those posts are about Kiraman. Takuya remembers how he was excluded in the past because of his interests. He fears he will be bullied again. but instead Amani says his posts are really cool. She says his profile is amazing and asks if one of the drawings posted there was drawn by him. Takuya is surprised that Amani didn't find his Instagram strange. She continues saying she respects his interests a lot. Takuya doesn't know how to respond while Ijichi gives him some tips to improve his profile. Before he can say anything, she suddenly takes a selfie with him. She says she'll post it and might retake more later, asking him not to remove her from his friend list. Later, a new Kiraman episode airs. It focuses on the death of the character Patchy. Emotional and heartbroken, Takuya feels sad about Patchy's death and thinks about why the creators decided to kill him off. Because of this, he ends up sleeping the whole day. Still, he wants someone to share his sadness with, and wonders on his way to school if Amani also watched the episode. When he enters the classroom, he sees Amani looking upset. She sighs, and Takuya notices tears on her face. He concludes she cried for Patchy too. Two boys nearby comment that Amane looks prettier than usual. Ijichi walks over and asks her if she's okay because she seems down. Amani says she argued with her sister. Kotoko tries to comfort her but finds it strange that she's this upset from just an argument. While Takuya listens, believing he knows what's actually going on, suddenly Amana reacts to hearing the name Patchy. She yells loudly, making the whole classroom fall silent and look at her. The boys ask if she also plays the game and tell her she can add them if she wants, but Takuya knows exactly which Patchy she meant. Another episode of Kiraman plays as Takuya watches. One character catches his attention because she looks a lot like Ijichi. The next day, Ijichi walks into the classroom saying good morning. Many classmates immediately gather around her, talking about different topics. Takuya thinks he shouldn't mention that she looks like the idol Miki, since she's very popular in the center of social groups, but he can't stop thinking about it and wonders if she knows the character or if Amane said something to her. After class, Takuya packs his things and thinks about how he spent the whole day secretly looking at Ijichi. Suddenly she approaches him, saying she noticed him staring. Embarrassed, he apologizes and says he didn't mean anything weird. Curious, Ijichi asks why he was looking at her. To escape the situation, Takuya says she looks like a character, and she becomes interested in hearing more. Trying to imitate the character, Ijichi repeats one of the anime lines. Amani appears and asks if she was trying to imitate Miki, saying she doesn't look like her at all. Takuya thinks it was actually very cute. The two girls continue talking while surrounded by classmates who invite them out or to karaoke. Even though he isn't part of the conversation, Takuya listens to the groups talking about the girls. He feels like they live in different worlds, but he doesn't mind. Then he remembers that the random Kiraman figure will be released soon, with only one try allowed per person. It's a rare chance. After class, he quickly goes to the store to buy one. When he arrives, he sees Amane and Iichi there. Amane panics, saying it's not what he thinks. Again, she claims it's a gift for her sister. Takuya interrupts, asking if they weren't going out with the boys from earlier. Amani says the group got too large, so she left, and Ijichi says she simply followed her friend. Confused, Takuya wonders if the two girls aren't into things like dating. He then asks if Amane wants to buy the figures together in order to increase their chances of getting the rare one. He watches them whispering to each other. Trying to interrupt, he approaches, but they ignore him. Giving up, he decides to come back after they leave. As he turns to go, someone pulls his backpack. The two girls tell him to wait. Ijichi says she wants him to come with them, and Amane asks if they can trade if he gets vamp. Embarrassed, Takuya accepts and thinks that maybe gals can be kind to Otaku after all. After buying the figures, Amane is happy she got what she wanted, while Ijichi ended up getting the secret one. Days later, Takuya introduces himself again as his friends talk about a story posted by Minnie Sane. They also discuss how the basketball team captain confessed to a girl. Takuya listens but thinks it's none of his business, and that he shouldn't be eavesdropping. He also thinks that girls talking about boys proves that Amane isn't an otaku. But when asked about her type, Amane gives a very specific answer. She says she likes slim, pale blonde boys, but also boys who look good with black hair. Takuya immediately realizes she's describing Vamp, a Kiraman character. He gets excited, but also admits that boys like that exist in real life too. But then Amane becomes even more specific, saying her type must also have sunlight as a weakness. Noticing Takuya staring at her, she quickly says it's not what he's thinking. Takuya says he didn't say anything. While they whisper to each other, Takuya asks if she really doesn't like Vamp, and Ijichi asks what they're talking about. Later, Ijichi asks to borrow a ruler from Takuya, but he feels annoyed by the way she talks to him. Acting smug, she says boys love lending her things, and that he should feel honored. But then the teacher enters. Takuya realizes he forgot his textbook, but he can't say anything now that class has started. He thinks it's too risky to leave his desk empty, so he puts his math book on the desk instead. Ijichi asks to borrow his red pen, and as she looks down, she notices the book isn't for English. She calls him an idiot for thinking he could fool the teacher. Takuya panics. Before anyone notices, Ijichi raises her hand and says she forgot her book. The teacher tells her to sit with someone quickly. She chooses to sit with Takuya. Sitting next to him, she whispers that it was funny seeing him try to cover his mistake and says now they can do the assignment together. She explains she did this as thanks for always borrowing her things. Takuya feels relieved. Later on Sunday, Takuya goes to a shopping mall to watch the Kiraman Hero show. He reaches the rooftop plaza early, and the place is empty. He wonders if the anime isn't popular. Suddenly, someone catches his attention. Looking closely, he realizes it's Amane, in disguise, but she claims he's mistaken. Takuya asks if she wants to trade the freebie character cards from the show. Dropping her disguise, Amon confirms she wants Vamp, agreeing to trade. Again, she mentions her sister, saying she only came because her sister got sick and couldn't attend. The show begins, and Takuya becomes excited, drawing attention from people around him. Takuya noticed that Kei was surprisingly calm, and she told him there was no need to panic. Suddenly, a new guest was announced, Vamp Grand, and Kei completely lost her composure. The show ended, and the two enjoyed the event with the Kyaramon character. After the event, Takuya complained about the heat and went to a convenience store to buy a cold Coke, but he was surprised to see Kotoko Ijichi, who asked what he was doing there. Confused, Takuya said he was buying a Coke. Kotoko told him he could get it for half the price, grabbed his arm and led him to another store. Inside, Kotoko tried different products and had Takuya try on some clothes. Afterward, they left with 2 Cokes. Triumphant, Kotoko said they had gotten 2 Cokes for 150 yen, even though Takuya had paid for both. She then received a phone call and mentioned she was heading to karaoke. Watching this, Takuya felt like he had been on a date, but quickly convinced himself it was just his imagination. Before leaving, Kotoko said they would have another date soon, and Takuya realized that maybe it really had felt like that Coke suddenly felt like the sweetest drink he'd ever had. The next day, Takuya, Kotoko, and Kei talked about Kyaramon, including the anime and comic version. Kotoko suggested going to Takuya's house after class to continue discussing the manga. Kei said it felt weird to go to a boy's house, but Kotoko reassured her that it was fine because it was just Takuya Seo. Kei asked if he would do anything weird, and Takuya promised he wouldn't. He tried to refuse, saying his parents would be home, but the girls insisted. When he mentioned his Kyaramon drawings, they became even more excited to visit. Once inside, the girls looked around at Takuya's drawings and collectibles. Kei noticed the limited edition Earth Sama prize, and Takuya grew more nervous, realizing 2 very popular girls were in his room. Kotoko made herself at home, touching everything, which only increased Takuya's anxiety. He suggested grabbing the disc and leaving, but Kei said it would be better if they watched together. Takuya warned them he would get very excited while watching, but Kotoko and Kei didn't care. Kei explained that she normally watched episodes with her sister, turning off lights and using fans to enhance the experience. Kotoko wanted to see this side of Kei too, so they all sat down to watch. Takuya was in the middle, with a girl on either side, and became extremely flustered. On screen, Mickey appeared, and the trio reacted emotionally. Kei lightly touched Takuya's shoulder while warning him about an upcoming scene. Takuya felt like his heart couldn't take it. He had never been this close to Kei before. He was so distracted, he barely followed the episode. Kei asked if he had been paying attention, and he apologized, flustered. At the same time, Kotoko secretly took a photo of him. They decided to take a break, and Kotoko opened the curtains. She announced she was going to post the photo on Instagram and asked Kei if she wanted to see Takuya's profile first. Takuya tried to avoid showing it, but the girls insisted. Kei noticed something on his profile and asked if his username was Otaku Ocean. Takuya was shocked. The account had only around 50 followers. Kei explained she had been following him for a long time while searching for Kyaramon drawings. Kotoko teased that the two of them seemed to be sharing a secret. Later, Takuya taught Kei how to draw using his tablet. She sat close and became more open, revealing her otaku side. Takuya suddenly realized he had ignored Kotoko for a bit, but she didn't seem to mind, lying comfortably on his bed. Takuya nervously apologized for not being a good host, but Kotoko said she was used to it, mentioning that Kei is always popular and everyone gets close to her. Kei responded that the same applied to Kotoko. Takuya realized they lived in a completely different world. They were practically celebrities at school, while he was just an ordinary boy. Then Kotoko suddenly asked which of the 2 girls was his type. Panicking, Takuya shouted in confusion. To avoid choosing, he said he was dedicated only to Sachiko, a character from Kyaramon. At the end of the day, the girls thanked Takuya for the afternoon. He apologized for not being a good host, but Kotoko told him he was too formal. Kotoko said thanks to him, she got to see Kei's full otaku mode. Kei also thanked him for a fun afternoon. The girls said goodbye and promised to see him at school. On their way home, they chatted about how much fun the day was and thought about Takuya, believing he was sincere, polite, and intriguing. They concluded that he might actually be cool. Back in his room, Takuya felt the space emptier than usual. He realized this was what it felt like when friends left after spending time together. Then he noticed a lingering perfume. It felt as if the two girls were still around him. Trying to stop his imagination, Takuya decided to draw. But suddenly an imaginary Kei Amane appeared in front of him. Exhausted, Takuya decided to sleep, hoping it would help him forget everything. When he reached his bed, he saw an imaginary Kotoko and panicked, feeling trapped in his own room. Suddenly, someone appeared, greeting him good morning. Takuya realized it was Kei Amane and Kotoko Ijichi again, asking if he was okay. He admitted he hadn't slept a wink all night. Later, Takuya asked Kei about the anonymous account that had been following him. She explained it was a profile she used to like things she found embarrassing. Takuya realized she had just given herself away. It wasn't her sister. He concluded that both girls were secretly otaku, though Kei didn't fully confirm it yet. Eventually, she admitted the account was hers, and that she used it to show content to her sister, who didn't have a phone. Trying to tease her, Takuya said he thought he had found someone to talk about Kyaraman with, but was mistaken. Kei revealed her account's name was Tyokujo. Before they could continue talking, Kotoko appeared at the door, inviting Kei to go home together. But Kei asked Takuya to talk to her there. Another episode of Kyaraman started, and Takuya was more nervous than usual. He discussed the episode in real time with Kei while watching, until he received a message from her. Excited, he thought this was the real Kei, completely different from the calm, cold girl at school, though still just a gyaru. The next day, Takuya couldn't believe the calm, aloof Kei at school was the same person he had talked to the day before. She told him the previous day had been amazing, and suggested doing it again, but Kotoko reminded them that such talks weren't suitable for school. Later, Takuya finally found the pillow cover he had been searching for. It had fans drooling in anticipation, and stores hadn't restocked it, but he found it in the children's section. Suddenly, a child bumped into him, drawing his attention to a woman, Kotoko, helping her siblings. She explained she was assisting her large family and was surprised to see Takuya there. Without hesitation, Kotoko asked him to keep what he saw that day a secret, and he agreed. Then two boys appeared, asking if Takuya was her boyfriend. Embarrassed, Kotoko told her brothers to shut up and apologized to Takuya for the situation. The next day at school, Takuya shared he had found the pillow cover. Kei looked at him, reminding him not to mention what happened, but was surprised they already followed each other on Instagram. With tears in her eyes, she said she wanted to join their social media group. Takuya asked if she was sure, and she confirmed, explaining she hadn't followed him before because she thought he wouldn't like it. Talking about Kei, Takuya noticed she always replied quickly, which made Kotoko furious since Kei normally takes forever. The blonde declared she would also start messaging him, and Takuya was happy, enjoying their shared love for Kyaraman. Later, Takuya was on his way home and realized he was truly friends with both girls, until a message arrived, inviting him to hang out over the weekend. He was nervous, unsure if the invitations were dates, and wished there were two of him to accept both. On the weekend, the three met, and Takuya was surprised by how cute the girls looked. The girls whispered that they had both wanted to spend time alone with him, but agreed to the group outing. Kotoko suggested alternating the outing so that each girl could be alone with Takuya for a while. He got nervous, but she reassured him not to overthink it. At Anime, where a fan book was being released, the trio walked through crowds, noticing that more people were staring at the girls than usual. Two boys tried to mock them, but Takuya stepped in, reminding himself that Kei could handle herself with her usual aloofness. She apologized for intimidating others, but said she didn't want to seem tough. Takuya reassured her, calling her an otaku for the first time. She got emotional but said she was only there for her sister. After picking up the fan books, Kei celebrated getting 3 copies of the first edition, but noticed Takuya seemed off. At a cafe, the three chatted. Takuya felt dizzy from the fancy surroundings but asked more about Kei's sister. She confessed she was actually an only child. The sister was the daughter of her mother's best friend. Takuya was relieved to hear she wasn't imaginary. Kei said it was easier to say sister to avoid explaining it every time. Takuya expressed interest in meeting this sister, but quickly clarified he didn't mean visiting her house. Kei reassured him, reflecting on the outing they had, and invited him to her house again, making him nervous about being alone with her. The two sat in silence until Kotoko arrived. At the park, she used TikTok filters on Takuya's face, making his mouth hilariously large and making everyone laugh. She promised more embarrassing moments. He tried to take a photo of her, but she refused, saying only he could take her picture. Eventually, she agreed to appear if he recorded a cute 15-second couple's dance. While recording, they laughed at Takuya's movements and expressions, leaving him embarrassed. He asked what the dance was called, and she said she didn't know, but tagged it on social media as a couple's dance. The trio then headed to the cinema and saw a machine filled with Kyaramon merchandise. Takuya was excited to see the items cost only 200 yen. Sitting next to Kei, she asked if he liked anything besides the anime. He hesitated but admitted he liked other manga. Persistent, Kei asked about girls, which made Takuya nervous. He said he wasn't suitable for a relationship. Then he realized Kei might be slightly interested in him. She admitted she enjoyed going out with friends or family, but would like a one-on-one date with him sometime. She even called Kotoko to join them for the movie. Takuya felt confused, unsure if Kei was serious, while Kotoko noticed Kei's blush. Whispering, Kei asked Kotoko how serious she was, and Kotoko replied, "As much as you are." Both Takuya and Kei soon realized that his true focus was entirely on Kyaramon. The two began to argue about it while Takuya watched, trying to understand what was happening.
Hey guys, sorry for mid-editing, but I noticed a lot of you are watching my videos without subscribing. Our subscribe ratio is literally close to 0. I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. Thanks. Now, back to the recap.
At school, Kei mentioned she was trying to remember the new Kyaramon figure released last week, the 7th in the mechanical type line. Someone quickly identified it as Single Boy Jack, surprising her. Later, she asked if her friends were excited about the upcoming midterm exams, but noticed they didn't seem thrilled. Kotoko remarked that exams were impossible for Otaku, while Kei, not part of that group and confident in Japanese, thought she'd do fine. Takuya asked how she had done on the April test, mentioning he scored about 300 points. Kei tried to console him, saying he could do better next time, but Amane confidently revealed she had scored 423, acing the test. Takuya noted how full of surprises his friends were. During class, while some students studied, Takuya admired the sketch he had made of Rocket Man. The teacher continued explaining formulas, and classmates commented on Kei's calm demeanor. At the end of class, the teacher asked if everyone would be ready for the test the next day. Takuya continued thinking about his drawing and whether he should color it. At karaoke, the girls enjoyed singing and choosing songs with friends. The next day, before the test, Takuya felt proud of organizing his Kyaramon shelf, but sensed he was forgetting something important. Meanwhile, Kei was happily reading in a non-romance, and Kotoko listened to music, realizing she had correctly guessed a song they sang earlier. When the test scores were released, Takuya had scored 22 points, Kei 16, and Amane 44. Frustrated, Takuya asked how Amane scored so high, and she explained she simply paid attention in class. Impressed, Takuya asked how she could be so smart. Amane said she just listened in class and reviewed occasionally, and Takuya asked for her help with the history test. Wearing glasses to focus on his work, Amane leaned in to check his question. Takuya was embarrassed, saying the glasses were unexpected, and noted she looked very different from the last time he saw her. She explained she only wore them for close-up work. They continued discussing the test, but Kei noticed Takuya was distracted, staring at her, and assumed it was because of the glasses. Panicking, Takuya insisted that wasn't the problem and encouraged her to keep wearing them, saying she looked incredibly cute and had taken his breath away. Amane turned forward, told him to stop flirting, and said she needed to concentrate. She then became thoughtful, reflecting on what had just happened. After class, Takuya overheard students discussing preparations for the test. With only 5 days left until finals, he felt panicked but sought refuge in Kyaramon. Watching it inspired him to focus and remember the library. He told himself that if Sachiko was giving her best, he should too. At the library, Amane and Kei noticed Takuya studying and decided to join him. The girls concentrated on their work, but Takuya struggled to focus and started panicking. At 5 p.m., it was time for Kotoko to go home. Kei asked if something was wrong, but Kotoko said she just needed to make dinner. Left alone, Takuya was reminded by Kei to focus on studying and not talk about Kyaramon the entire time. 10 minutes later, Takuya was already sketching anime characters from memory in a drawing battle with Kei. A bell rang, signaling the library was closing, and the two left, thinking of more challenges. Arriving at Amane's home, both reached for the intercom simultaneously, lightly touching hands. Startled, Takuya quickly pulled his hand back and apologized. While Amane reassured him it was no big deal, the situation created an awkward silence, making the air tense. Before leaving, Takuya said he would see her at school the next day. Amane asked if he wanted her company on the way, confusing him slightly. She clarified that she just wanted to continue their Kyaramon battle. At her house, Takuya asked for permission to enter, and they went to her room on the second floor. Realizing he was alone with her, he knew he needed to stay calm. Amani said it was the first time a boy had entered her room, making her a bit embarrassed. They fell silent, then decided to talk about Kyaramon to break the ice and return to a relaxed mood. Takuya asked to see her Kyaramon collection. Amani agreed, but asked him to close his eyes first. When he opened them, he went crazy seeing the Milky Way predator with a limited acrylic stand, which Amani had gotten with her little sister's help. At that moment, the door opened. Amani's little sister appeared, explaining she tolerated her sister's fascination with Kyaramon when their parents were busy. She warned Takuya not to get the wrong idea about being Amane's boyfriend, but he quickly introduced himself as a classmate. Her little sister, Miya Sayu, a third grader at Higashi Elementary, explained that she helped with dinner when her older sister's parents were busy. She didn't care about Kyaramon anymore, having grown out of it in elementary school. Amani said she had introduced the series to her sister, but their interests diverged. Miya remained firm, saying her sister would never bring someone she didn't like into their home. Before leaving the room, Miya offered to help prepare dinner, following the rules of hospitality. After Miya left, Amani apologized for her behavior, but warned Takuya not to put broccoli in the curry. They resumed their Kyaramon battle. The rules were reviewed, and Amani confidently believed she would win easily. However, she promised that if she did, she would grant Takuya anything he wished. Takuya hesitated, and Amani teased him, accusing him of being a pervert. Before starting, he declared that if he won, he would claim the limited edition Miss Luna acrylic stand. The two stared at each other, mentally preparing for the challenge, and Takuya jokingly asked not to be compared to Kyaramon with questionable traits. The challenge began. Both started drawing, and Takuya declared that he was unsure of the outcome. Since Amani lost, she jokingly suggested that something perverted could happen as long as she stayed covered from the shoulders down. Takuya quickly told her to forget the bet. Later, he thanked her for her hospitality, saying he had a lot of fun and had gotten to see a different side of Amane. Her little sister Miya looked confused at what he meant. Before leaving, Miya whispered that she would entrust her older sister to him. She explained that her sister tries hard to appear mature, but her heart was still young, and it was clear how much she had enjoyed the afternoon. Takuya reciprocated the sentiment, hoping they could all enjoy each other's company again in the future. After he left, the two sisters discussed how sincere and polite he was, and even as an ordinary boy, he was easy and comfortable to talk to. Aman remarked that this could also be called love, and the sisters debated whether she truly liked him, while Takuya overheard everything from near a wall. The next day, midterm exams arrived. Takuya realized his total score was 291 points, thanks to Amani's help, and asked how his two friends had done. The blonde, Kotoko, said she scored 408 points, then asked Amane. Amane admitted she had failed one subject, but had hoped to at least beat the Otaku, which she couldn't. Annoyed, Kotoko called him a traitor and demanded an explanation for his score. Amane tried to calm her, explaining that she had beaten her in one area and won over the Otaku. She also noted that the two girls had grown closer over the past few days, leaving Takuya confused about which competition she was referring to. Despite this, Kotoko invited him to hang out after school. He asked if it was for a movie and agreed, though Amani seemed a little upset about being left out. After school, Kotoko was excited about their outing. She became frustrated when she realized the movie she wanted to watch had already ended, so Takuya suggested they watch Phantom of Love. However, a different movie, Zombies vs. Sharks, caught her attention. Takuya warned it might be trashy but fun, and they decided to watch. Kotoko promised she would pick the next movie. During the film, several sharks appeared on screen. Takuya regretted the choice and told her she could fall asleep if she wanted, but when he looked at her, she was crying. He admitted he had been watching her instead of the movie. Afterwards, she said it was fun and loved the choice. They went to the food court, where Kotoko excitedly talked about the movie and how it had broadened her horizons. She said she would tell Amani about it the next day. She then asked if he had gone to Aman's house, and when Takuya asked how she knew, Kotoko explained that Amani had told her. She wanted to hear about it directly from him. After his explanation, Kotoko invited him to her house, pointing out that he had already met her younger sibling. She insisted that the Otaku visit her home. Takuya asked why, and Kotoko said it wasn't fair for him to have fun only with Amane. They decided to play video games together. Kotoko launched an attack in the game and laughed when she won. Curious, Takuya asked how she was so good, and she explained that her brothers loved the game, so she had learned to play. Passing by a claw machine, she pointed out a one-ton choco, saying she had never won it. Takuya revealed he had won it before, and she asked him to try again. Focused, he grabbed it successfully. Before leaving, Kotoko suggested taking a photo in the photo booth. Takuya admitted he hadn't known people still used photo booths, but agreed. He noticed she had painted her nails, and Kotoko was surprised he had noticed. He thanked her for helping him improve his confidence with people. On the way back, she thanked him for the chocolate he had brought and he said it was for her to share with her siblings. Noticing her distance, he asked if he had been intrusive mentioning her nails, and she said no. That night, Aman watched Ghost of Love. The next day, the group gathered, and Kotoko asked which movie the others had seen. Without hesitation, Amani answered, surprising her friend. Kotoko wanted to recommend a different movie, but Amani said she didn't like that type. Feeling slightly jealous, Kotoko was relieved when her friend kept talking about the photo booth picture, though Takuya felt a little jealous himself. A photo from the booth fell, and Takuya grabbed it, seeing Kotoko with another man. Startled, Kotoko quickly excused herself to the bathroom. Takuya wondered if she had a boyfriend. He also speculated it might be her older brother. Kotoko later explained that it was indeed her brother and that the photo revealed her little sister complex, which she thought was embarrassing for friends to see. Both Takuya and Amane felt relieved. They continued discussing her siblings when the teacher interrupted, but Amane said she wanted to talk to Kotoko. Kotoko reassured her friend that she could always count on her. As they left, Kotoko remarked that it was easy to see why Takuya had fallen for her. Takuya felt happy and affirmed that talking to both girls sincerely was very valuable. Though he concluded it was too early to fall in love, Kotoko said she was ready. Takuya was slightly confused, remembering that she had previously said she didn't want anyone, but she claimed she was joking. The school sports tournament approached. Kotoko said she was unmotivated because she wasn't good at sports, but Amane encouraged her, saying it was her time to shine. Takuya reminded her she didn't need to prove anything, but Kotoko insisted the next day would be interesting. During the girls' basketball game, Amane played exceptionally well, shocking everyone, even students from other classes, with her skill. The girls' popularity grew rapidly. Rumors spread that she had once been a national championship standout and that she had always been very cold, which surprised Takuya. People talking about her said she seemed unapproachable, but her close friends shouted words of encouragement. Amane responded with a signal, and everyone was astonished to see her smile. Later, Takuya watched the table tennis tournament, where Ajiki was playing. Her skill made him doubt her previous claims that she was bad at sports. He was happy that there were spectators and more men in the audience. The game began and all eyes were on Ajiki. Takuya noticed that, even if she wasn't great at the sport, she was clearly giving her best effort. Later, it was Takuya's turn to play baseball. He gave it his all and was congratulated by his teammates. The opposing pitcher happened to be a former professional player, which made the game more exciting. Amane and Ajiki were watching, and the team was surprised to see them. The pitcher initially thought they had come to support him, but the girls were there to cheer for Takuya. Despite her skill, Amane had a special motivation. She wanted to impress Takuya with her performance. She believed that, unlike Ajiki, she wasn't as smart academically, so she needed to stand out in sports. While thinking of Takuya, she continued playing basketball and made a great shot to finish the game. All the girls rushed to hug her and celebrate the victory. Amani had been so focused she didn't even realize the game had ended. Her teammates laughed and teased that such focus must be love. Flustered, she tried to explain, but they insisted it was love for basketball, and she sheepishly agreed. Celebrating their performances, the girls suggested the trio go to an all-you-can-eat barbecue. Students from volleyball, basketball, and soccer, the coolest groups in school, would be there. Amane was unsure if it was her scene, but she was convinced to go. Takuya, however, had another commitment. He had been invited to karaoke with the baseball team. The girls were happy for him and celebrated with their friend. Amane was frustrated, claiming she had wanted to go with the barbecue plan. Kotoko teased her, suggesting it was just to get closer to Takuya. But Amane insisted she had never had a chance to sing Kiaraman songs at karaoke. Kotoko cheered her up by suggesting the trio go to karaoke together soon. Amane was happy and promised to think of places for a summer outing. Before saying goodbye, the girls asked Takuya to keep a few days free for the trip, but first they all needed to pass the final exam. At Takuya's house, Ajiki suggested they start singing, but he asked if it had been planned. She reassured him they had agreed to it, though he thought it would happen during summer vacation. Embarrassed, he admitted he thought they would go out with others and didn't want to interfere. Ajiki and Amane both told him not to think that way. They had wanted to be with him. Ajiki handed him an instrument, and Takuya realized that they had been waiting for this moment. Determined, he said he would give it his all. The girls were excited and let him choose the first song. They sat very close to him, making him embarrassed. Trapped between the two, he proposed singing last. Amane insisted he already sang with the boys, and he admitted he barely managed. Ajiki took the initiative to sing first. Nervous, Takuya asked if he could just play since he didn't know many songs. The girls reassured him, though they noticed he only knew NIM song. When the song appeared on the TV, they realized it was from Kiaraman Pets. Takuya and the girls were shocked. Amane had been practicing at home. Takuya noticed her voice was similar to Mickey's, and even the way she messed up the lyrics reminded him of the character. After finishing, she apologized for the mistakes, but the girls told her it was amazing. They even imagined the character singing alongside her. Takuya was so moved that he lost the ability to think clearly. Clapping, he told her it was great and jokingly dedicated his life to loving her, surprising Amane. Her friend began discussing her knowledge of the episode, making Ajiki nervous. Then it was Takuya's turn. He thought it would be impossible to sing between two girls, but he enjoyed the challenge. The girls speculated about what type of song he might sing, whether anime-related or something else entirely. He chose a song from NM Karaman. Singing with determination, he noticed the girls' surprised expressions and feared he had been arrogant to show his ugly otaku side. Suddenly, they called his name and asked if they could sing with him. All three sang passionately together, exhausted by the end. Ajiki said she was hungry, and Amane suggested it was time for a challenge. The loser would pay for everyone's food, making Takuya nervous. They decided to sing songs they hadn't sung before. Takuya smiled and grabbed the microphone, determined not to lose. After all, a typical otaku hates losing. After singing, the girls scored 84 and 86 points. Takuya thought that besides being talented singers, they were incredibly beautiful. He felt lucky to watch the most popular girls in class sing, and paying for fries seemed a small price. When it was his turn, the girls analyzed his performance and noted how he reached the romantic parts of the song. Both girls' hearts skipped a beat. His score was semi-points, and he admitted he had failed compared to them, but they reassured him that he did well. Later, everyone was eating, while Takuya still held the microphone. He asked if Amani wanted some food. She asked what he would drink. He chose a Coke, and she excitedly asked for the same. While returning with the drinks, he realized he didn't know whose cup was whose. Panicking, he tried to remember which cup was his, but couldn't be sure. Just then, Aman grabbed a cup from his hand, thanked him, and drank it without noticing his surprise. Noticing his gaze, she asked if there was something in her drink. Takuya tried to defend himself, but she demanded the truth. After hearing everything, she wondered if it was an indirect kiss, but reassured him that she didn't mind. He realized he had expected her not to care, but Ajiki's heart started racing as she stared at her cup, blushing. Takuya called her attention, and she nervously admitted the cup was hers. When told, Aman realized she had never cared about such things before. As they left the beach, Aman said it had been so much fun. Ajiki, excited, reminded everyone that summer break was starting and asked if they had any plans. Her friend said she had some plans and asked Takuya about him. He realized she was referring to a festival featuring some celebrities, which he believed he knew. Amani quickly suggested that they still have time to do something together and proposed a barbecue by the sea. She got excited, and Takuya asked if the invitation was for him. She smiled and said, "The more the merrier." Her older brother hosted it every year, and her two younger brothers would be there as well. She asked her friend to bring her younger sister, and the friend confirmed she had. Then she turned to Takuya and asked him to come too. He gladly accepted, thanking her for the invitation. When the day arrived, Takuya had a minor meltdown upon seeing everyone in beachwear. Amani mentioned she didn't know how to swim, and Ajiki reassured him not to worry since there wasn't any other place to wear beach clothes. Half an hour earlier, they had been searching for the family. Ajiki called out to them, and Takuya thought her brother looked intimidating. He met the family, the older brother, Jenner, and the younger brothers, Kakaru and Hibiki, along with Amane's younger sister, Aiya. Amane called the other girls to put on their beachwear, leaving the boys alone. The younger brothers nervously mentioned Aman's ex-boyfriend, but quickly admitted he wasn't dating her. Jenner appeared, questioning Takuya in a threatening tone about being a friend and whether he would take responsibility for touching Amane. Takuya denied it innocently, leaving him confused. Back in the present, Ajiki asked Takuya what he thought of her outfit. Glancing at her nervous brother, he said it was genius. He pulled Amane away to start the barbecue, thinking it was nice to see her as a younger sister. Aya asked if it was okay not to help with the cooking. Takuya commented that they would just get in the way and suggested they play with the boys instead. Amane teased him about his thoughts regarding her sister, scaring him, and was scolded by Aman for her behavior. The younger sister suggested they build an arena like in Chapter 7 of Kyaruman Anahime. Excited, the teenagers agreed, since it was a legendary chapter. They completed the crab statue from the anime, and everyone admired her work, though Aya thought they could do even better. She began giving orders to improve the statue. Amane apologized to Takuya for involving him, but he happily said he could do it all day, while the little sister observed. The older sister noticed Aya taking pictures and asked her to wait until the statue was finished. The boys wanted to play, while Amane shouted for them to be careful. They stopped in front of Takuya, saying he had won chocolate at a game center. Kakaru grabbed the ball with determination, making Takuya nervous. The three began playing with a ball and a water gun, and Takuya quickly realized the kids had endless energy. Ajiki commented that he could get mad at them, but Takuya said it was fine. As being an only child, it felt like having younger brothers. The kids remarked that he seemed like a good guy. Smiling, one asked if they could bury him, and everyone loved the idea. Eventually, Takuya was completely buried, thinking at least everyone had fun. Afterward, the boys switched to volleyball, losing interest in burying him. Amani thanked Takuya for playing with her brothers. During the game, one of the boys accidentally bumped into Amane, causing her to fall on top of Takuya, startling them both. They were embarrassed, though her older brother distracted them by talking about the barbecue meat. Once Takuya was unburied, they all ate the prepared food. Kakaru and Hibiki teased, asking why he wasn't beside their sister as if they were dating, and Amani quipped that he matched better with her sister. The children began squabbling, calling the girls to decide whose boyfriend he was. The sisters started arguing with each other about rankings in games, and Aman told them that if all they had were gaming achievements, it was pathetic. The boys admitted defeat. Takuya thought she knew how to get back at them, and they began thinking of ways to fight. The sisters tried to calm them, and Amani reminded her little sister that she had gone too far. Aya apologized to the boys, surprising them. Takuya thought how nice it was to be young. Despite the chaos, the barbecue turned into a great experience for everyone, and time flew by. Ajiki asked the brothers to stand with Amane for a photo, and they wondered why. The girls explained it was to remember the moment. As they prepared for the picture, Jenner put his hand on Takuya's shoulder and asked nervously which of the two girls he liked more. Takuya stammered that they were both good friends. Jenner then asked which one he would go on a date with. Takuya thought about saying he'd accept invitations from both, but didn't answer. Jenner assured him it was fine, just that he should be careful and respectful. The girls were popular and attracted unwanted attention, and as an older brother, it was natural to be protective. Takuya promised he understood and that he wouldn't make anyone cry. He became nervous when the girls revealed that he had made Amani cry over a movie he chose. Jenner charged at him, while Amani tried to justify the situation. At the end of the day, they prepared to return with Amani's family and catch a train. Takuya called Amani to ask if she was going to change clothes. She said no, since she was traveling by car, and invited him to sit with her. She apologized, saying she would be traveling, but smiled and asked if he was happy to have spent time with Ajiki. Takuya said he wasn't thinking about that. He had loved having fun with both of them. She smiled, saying she hoped to have more fun with him when she returned. They both looked at each other silently in front of the beach. Takuya looked away first, unsure of what to do, then decided to call her name, but saw her brother smiling at him instead. He began shaking nervously, thinking about where to put his hands, his heart racing and face flushed. Finally, they said goodbye to Aman's family and took the train home. Takuya sighed, exhausted, while Aman commented that she was so tired she wanted to sleep. Aya said she could sleep on him, and he would wake her when they arrived, though Amani admitted she was sleepy too. The little sister claimed she still had plenty of energy, but eventually fell asleep. Takuya thought to himself that she was an elemental girl, and Amani apologized for her sister sleeping on his lap. A few minutes later, the train stopped, and when a woman got off, she looked at them and commented that their daughter was lovely. The girl corrected her, saying it was her sister, but her voice was too soft to be heard. She looked ahead pensively. Turning to Takuya, she smiled and mentioned what the woman had said about them being a couple. But then she was surprised by what she saw. Looking to the side, she decided to rest too, and the three of them ended up leaning on each other, falling asleep. Sometime later, Takuya woke up startled, apologizing and asking what the others had said. Nervous, the girl brushed it off as nothing, then quickly changed the subject to Kamisette. On August 14th, the teenagers were exhausted but thrilled, reflecting on how it was their first time at such an event. Today, Takuya and Amane were together, watching the first day of Comike. The crowd was overwhelming, making it hot and hard to breathe. Takuya found it liberating to be among fans and to simply exist there. Amani, flustered, insisted she wasn't interested in all the fuss. As they entered the event, Takuya teased her, wanting to see her reaction. She told him not to make it a bigger deal than it was. Arriving at the venue, Amani was amazed by the room full of Kirin stands. She commented excitedly that she didn't realize so many people loved the anime. Spotting a book she had long wanted, she rushed to pick it up, while Takuya noticed how her sudden enthusiasm surprised him the most. She had reached her limit and become a full-on otaku, but he wasn't going to let her outshine him. At the Anam developer's booth, he nervously complimented them and picked up a new book. But when the woman asked him to wait, he discovered it was an adult version. Screaming and returning it to the counter, he apologized, but she reassured him it wasn't necessary. While browsing, Amani accidentally picked up a page she shouldn't have, screaming and apologizing when she realized she was underage. Both were embarrassed, and they agreed age verification made sense. Takuya suggested visiting the cosplay area, but Amani directed him toward an Earth character cosplay. Excited, they asked for a photo, reminding Takuya of his former otaku self. A group approached, asking to take a picture of Amani, mistaking her for a cosplayer. Nervous and unsure what to say, Amani froze. Takuya grabbed her hand, shouting apologies and insisting she wasn't a cosplayer, dragging her through the corridors to safety. After stopping, Takuya apologized for holding her hand, explaining he only wanted to protect her. She smiled and reassured him, saying he had. They decided to go home, having bought everything they needed, and Amani reflected that somehow she had managed to get even more than she expected. At home, Takuya realized August vacation was ending. His phone buzzed with messages from the girls about fireworks. Excited, he quickly replied that he was coming, and then wondered how they would be dressed. He had seen them in beachwear, but yukata? That would be luck beyond belief. On the day of the festival, both girls wore traditional clothing. Shocked, Takuya thought he was incredibly lucky. The place was crowded, but Ajiki offered her hand, suggesting it might look romantic. He agreed, and the other girl made a sound that startled him. Amani looked shocked, asking if they were lovers, but they explained the situation. Even so, she grabbed her friend's hand and joined them. Then she took Takuya's other hand, suggesting they walk that way. Nervous about holding both girls' hands, he was reassured that it wouldn't be awkward, as long as he wasn't the only one holding hands. Despite the romantic potential, each wanted to go in different directions, so they chose comfort over romance and walked normally. They drank and played together during the festival. Takuya ended up meeting an old friend, and Amane told Ajiki she'd be back soon, leaving Takuya nervous about being alone with the other girl. As fireworks exploded in the sky, Takuya recalled all the events of the past few days. Amani noticed and said she wanted to record the moment. Seeing him tear up, she asked why. He apologized, reflecting on summer and how much he had enjoyed it. Smiling, she reminded him that they had made a promise to have lots of fun. Cultural festivals and the Winter Festival were still to come, so there would be plenty of time for adventures together. A light show lit the sky, and Aman seemed to feel something she could no longer hold back. Looking at Takuya, she blurted out, "I like you." He froze, unsure how to respond. They stared at each other, his mind racing. She quickly clarified that she meant it as a friend, but Takuya flustered, realizing he had misinterpreted. They reassured each other that it was friendly affection, and both admitted they liked each other as friends. Just then a man arrived, asking what they were doing. Startled, Aman asked about the confession, and they explained it was just about friendship. Takuya smiled, grateful someone had said they liked him, and Amani confirmed it was truly friendship. The sound of the fireworks carried their affections across the summer sky. After the festival, the group returned to the usual arcade. Kakaru was waiting, still thinking about Amani since the beach outing. Determined to prove himself in games after losing before, he greeted her warmly. Hibiki appeared right behind her, and they began arguing about why they were there. Aya explained it was because of her, clarifying the misunderstanding. Both brothers realized they had unknowingly spoken to Amane about the same plans at the same time. The brothers argued over who hadn't said anything first and decided to settle the matter with a game of darts. The loser would go home. When Aman asked if she could come too, one of them started bad-mouthing the other. Feeling down, she admitted she wanted to spend time with both together, leaving them confused. Eventually, they called a truce, still puzzled about why she wanted to be with them simultaneously. With only a few days of summer vacation left, the group looked forward to more fun, and Takuya waited outside a banquet hall, anticipating the next adventure. Takuya showed up, surprising her and making her happy. She apologized for calling him on such short notice, but he reassured her it wasn't a problem. Curious, he asked how he could help, and she explained that her mother needed a model for some photos, a boy specifically. Takuya laughed nervously, insisting he wasn't a model, which made her smile at his reaction. She explained that only his hands would be featured, and that he was the only friend she could ask for help. Feeling it was a small task, Takuya agreed when his name was called. Tamaki appeared, thanking him for coming and bowing politely. Takuya thought it was an honor to work for her, secretly marveling at how beautiful she was. Hugging her daughter with delight, Tamaki said it was time to put makeup on her, but the girl scolded her mother for doing it in front of everyone. Takuya noticed just how similar mother and daughter were. As the girl got her makeup done, Takuya was taken to a dressing room to try on clothes. The mother commented on how adorable her daughter was and reminisced about her high school romance with her husband. She hinted at potential romantic situations between Takuya and her daughter, startling the girl, who quickly insisted she wasn't interested in romance. Her mother laughed it off, mentioning that she would feel bad if her daughter wore a wedding dress before getting married. The girl insisted that Takuya liked Karaman more than her, but her mother teased that makeup could work magic. Takuya felt completely out of place, wondering why he was dressed so elegantly when only his hands would be shown. At that moment, his name was called. He turned to see the girl standing in an evening gown, leaving him mesmerized. When she asked if he wanted to say something, all he could do was stammer an apology. With the camera ready, the photographer began taking some practice shots. The girl held Takuya's hand, smiling for the camera, but his body was too stiff. Nervously, he admitted he had never modeled before. The mother understood and called everyone over to see something beautiful. Takuya couldn't help but think the girl was amazing. Her natural expressions were captivating. She then pulled out childhood photos, first of her at 3, sleeping peacefully, and then her 7th birthday, which made Takuya laugh. The girl scolded him for laughing, embarrassed as her mother teased them. Her mother explained that photos captured the atmosphere of the moment and that they should have fun. Takuya understood, though he realized the mother mostly wanted to show off the pictures. The girl's serious demeanor softened, revealing pleasant expressions that made him happy, even if he didn't realize it immediately. Once the photos were finished, the mother praised them, remarking on how well they had done. She handed over an album, but when the girl protested there were more pictures, Takuya asked if there was another album, making her even more irritated. When the boys arrived home exhausted, their sister welcomed them. She asked why they had been together since they had left separately and commented that they could go out with girls sometime. They told her they already had, which sparked curiosity. With sparkling eyes, the girl asked for details, but they were too tired. Their sister teased them about having gone on a date. The boys scolded her, but she persisted, asking which of them went out with Takuya. Both brothers looked at each other and insisted she not get involved, though she continued asking, leaving them confused. The siblings began arguing about who had gone out with Takuya first, which fascinated the girl. She thought a 3-person outing was rare and similar to her friends' experiences. Their sister also inquired about the outing with the brothers, and the girl explained it wasn't a real date. After all, a date was usually romantic and between 2 people. The older sister understood, but everyone had different definition. They decided it was too early for love since they were still in elementary school. Meanwhile, Ajiki, Amain, and Takuya had their own small group. Takuya was surprised by how involved the brothers were in the story and reflected on how familiar the situation felt. The girls explained the outing, noting that even though the brothers were young, they still remembered the girl fondly and complained about her absence. They agreed that if someone invites another person out, it likely meant they liked them, but then realized they also invited Takuya out alone. They backtracked, acknowledging it didn't necessarily mean anything, and jokingly declared the secret word of the year was probably irrelevant. One day before summer vacation ended, Takuya thought about the plans he had written for the break. He placed her notebooks in the center of the table, saying she wouldn't forget them and would start tasks the next day to avoid procrastination. Kotoko made a schedule for daily activities. In mid-August, Takuya experienced a burst of creativity and spent hours drawing until he felt renewed. A friend read his manga, impressed, while Kotoko enjoyed watermelon with her siblings at their grandparents' house. At the end of August, Takuya panicked over unfinished tasks and reports. The girl called her friend for advice, but found she was busy, so she focused on feeding her siblings and wished her friends luck. On the last day of summer, Ki cried while completing her assignments because she couldn't have cake until finished, while Kotoko met a friend, determined to complete her remaining tasks. When school resumed, everyone reunited on the first day, exhausted but happy. The girl enthusiastically congratulated them. She asked to borrow Takuya's pencil, claiming she had forgotten hers. Lending it, he joked that it was an abuse of power, and she promised it would be the last time she borrowed something, leaving him confused. After the seat rearrangement, Takuya remembered that after the break, all he could think about were the upcoming tests. The teacher instructed everyone to draw lots for seats, and the girl ended up by the window, while Takuya sat in the middle. She expressed that she would miss him and wished him well in his new seat. Everyone began settling into their new spots, and Takuya wondered where his other friend would be. Without Ajiki, he realized, he might not have made friends at all, and silently thanked her. As he organized his desk, he noticed someone standing in front of him. Surprised, he turned to see Takiva, amazed by his luck. The girl next to him seemed satisfied with the seating arrangement. Their classmates whispered, astonished, that he could talk to such a girl without intimidation. They asked if she was also an otaku, assuming it impossible given her beauty. Takuya laughed only to catch her glare, a silent warning to deny everything. He diverted the topic, mentioning her sister shared his interest in anime, but the classmates were no longer listening. In front of him, the girl struggled with studying. She asked Takuya for help with a material she didn't understand, complaining that classical Japanese made her sleepy. He pointed out that she slept in every class except modern Japanese, surprising the others. Kotoko was popular in class. Her friend asked to speak with her privately, and upon stepping out she found Kotoko with a boy. The girl asked if they were together. Kotoko confirmed, thanking her friend for her help. Takuya asked if she had received a confession, and Kotoko explained that she had rejected the boy, calling him the confession devil because he confessed to every girl he liked. As they said goodbye, Takuya wished her luck finding someone good, and Kotoko promised she would date when the time was right. Left alone, she reflected on her own feeling. Sitting at her desk, she felt nothing had changed in their friendship, but she startled when Takuya called her attention, making her nervous. Takuya was struggling with a part of math. Seeing her nervous, Kotoko asked if he was okay, and he said he was. They began studying happily together. After he understood, he thanked her for the explanation. She smiled and said she should have stayed by his side, then jokingly called him the confession devil, startling him. At her desk, Kotoko noticed a classmate sleeping again. Later, Takuya began visiting her more frequently. He startled her by asking to learn English from her. He didn't want to bother her, so he waited until she was alone, but it came across as flirting, prompting him to quickly shift the topic back to studies. Kotoko thought about teasing him to make his heart race, like before, and noticed his English book closed on his desk. As students returned to their seats, she decided to thank him for his help. The teacher asked everyone to open to a specific page, and Takuya noticed a note in his book. His heart skipped a beat as he glanced at Kotoko, who, from the corner of her eye, made a heart shape with her fingers. Embarrassed, he realized the note said, "I love you," with love crossed out and replaced with like. Kotoko felt satisfied, having achieved her playful goal. Later, Reverse Seal left, and Jiki took his seat. Kotoko noticed an Otaku classmate standing and offered him a place to sit. Even though he declined, she joked he could sit on her lap, leaving him red-faced. She quickly added it was just a joke. Ajiki reminded the class that the second biggest event of the term was approaching. Takuya asked what could come after tests, and Amain said she didn't want anything else. Another student hinted at a fun event, starting with S and ending with L. The Otaku immediately guessed the Kirin Star Festival, and Amain got excited, but the classmate clarified it was the school festival. The teacher explained the schedule, the first day for class performances, the second for clubs and committees. Takuya expected everyone to go, but the girls weren't certain. Rumors circulated about holding hands during the fireworks, which was said to bring happiness. The girls laughed at the superstition, but wondered if being forced to hold hands counted. They imagined Takuya reaching out, but it remained just a youthful fantasy. The teacher explained it was time to decide on class festival activity. Takuya felt confident they would succeed. Kotoko commented that the intensity scared her. Seo understood the stakes. The two main girls would have to wear cosplay. Class 1A couldn't afford a mediocre performance, so all ideas were welcome. Suggestions poured in. Maid outfits, police, nurses, even girls dressed as boys. Everyone wanted Kotoko's opinion. She suggested dressing as maids together, earning cheers. She decided to stay backstage herself, but her friend whispered that Takuya might be happier seeing them in costumes, especially swimsuits or traditional outfits. Kotoko got an idea, and Ki agreed to wear it. The class decided on a full cosplay cafe where everyone, front and back, would dress up. Takuya realized what was happening but couldn't say no. During the 2-week preparation period, the last classes were replaced with festival prep. The girls debated maid outfit designs, considering Miss Luna's flashy cosplay, but ultimately finding it too extravagant. They then looked at Mr. Terra's suit as a simpler alternative. A classmate asked about headpieces, and Kotoko volunteered. She grabbed Seo's shoulders in excitement, mentioning her pretty face and leaving him flustered. Seo worked on a globe prop for her costume, coincidentally matching Kotoko's idea. She punched his shoulder playfully, leaving him intrigued. Kotoko asked about floor panels, and her friend explained they were dividers for the cafe section. Takuya blushed, embarrassed by the clever planning. Masaki teased him not to drool over the girls, and playful shoulder punches became a running joke. The teacher presented the cosplay prices to the team leaders. Everyone was shocked at how expensive they were, but the teacher explained that cafe tariffs were taken into account, and the money would help fund the outfits and improve the event experience. Kotoko said she had no experience with part-time jobs. Another classmate suggested lowering the prices, but someone else argued that they themselves were the attraction, and low prices would only make the cafe overcrowded. Takuya commented that to see them, people would come multiple times. Ki tried to argue, but the classmate got annoyed, saying that even 1,000,000 wouldn't be enough to see them in cosplay. Both girls remembered their swimsuits from the festival. One asked if the price would go up if they wore swimsuits, and both said yes. Another asked about yukatas, and they agreed that 1,000,000,000 would be appropriate for seeing them in swimsuits and yukatas. After finalizing the plan, They teased their friend about charging him, and he jokingly commented that it was extortion. With 5 days left until the school festival, Takuya had been so busy with preparations that he hadn't had time to work on his cosplay. Kotoko noticed him looking down and asked if he would finish it at home since she was working on hers. Smiling, she suggested they work on it together, and he enthusiastically agreed. During preparations, Takuya felt lonely without the girls. Kotoko suggested a private place to work, her older brother's apartment. Her friend wondered if it was okay to bother him, but Kotoko explained she often went there to sleep and change scenery, and since Takuya knew her brother, it should be fine. Embarrassed, he followed her in, realizing he was alone in a family apartment with Kotoko. Nervous, he told himself nothing would happen and that he was overthinking. He found comfort in her calm and confident presence. In the apartment room, they began working on the project together while Kotoko played music. Smiling, she teased him, asking if he was nervous about being alone with her. He awkwardly replied that he was calm. Kotoko said she was happy to finally talk with him, since they had been separated during festival preparations. Takuya admitted that preparing with everyone made him feel part of the class, but he still felt lonely, so he was glad to be with her. She motioned playfully, as if to punch his arm again, irritating her friend, but Takuya was embarrassed and flustered. Aman arrived, apologizing for being late. Takuya was relieved they were no longer alone. The three of them commented on the progress of their work. When the cosplays were finished, the girls were astonished. Dressed in their outfits, Takuya started imitating the character, which surprised everyone since the character's personality seemed to take over him. Excited, Aki said she wanted to try it too. Takuya handed her the character's headpiece, but she requested a different version, leaving him flustered while her friend teased her. Later, Takuya came out of the bathroom and told Kotoko to start getting dressed. He worried about any indecent thoughts as he noticed the headpiece and wondered if it would feel tight or touch the wearer's face. The outfit smelled faintly of him, as if he had hugged it. Kotoko left the bathroom, saying it didn't matter, and asked if anything about the outfit displeased him. He suggested they do it together. Still nervous, the three continued working on their project, eating and making progress, though they wished for more time. Ajiki looked out the window. It was very dark. Takuya wanted to thank Kotoko before leaving, and the girls suggested a sleepover, delighting him. Kotoko explained that they had everything they needed and that Takuya could sleep in her brother's room. Nervously, he protested that it was inappropriate, and Ki agreed, noting it was a man's house. Kotoko hugged her friend, trying to convince her it would be fun. After asking her brother for permission, he initially hesitated since they were students, and it was already dark, but he allowed it, requesting that the other two girls get their parents' permission. Takuya thanked him, commenting that it was his first time sleeping away from home, and he had always wanted to. He reflected on the importance of these experiences in youth. Kotoko reassured him that with her there, nothing would happen, leaving him flustered. Her friend offered clothes, and her brother asked if they could order pizza. Everyone cheered. They took a photo to celebrate and settled in for the evening. Genocro said he would be gaming in his room and asked them not to make noise. The girls talked and laughed, while Takuya focused on their project. Pizza arrived, and afterward, they went to a convenience store and played games. Takuya asked about the project, but Kotoko said she lacked motivation. They decided to take a bath to refresh themselves. Kotoko told Takuya to go first, but he suggested the girls should go together. They teased him, saying it was slightly impertinent. Nervously, he insisted he had no strange intentions. Laughing, Kotoko said she was joking, but really wanted him to go first, leaving him puzzled and imagining the girls in the bath. Running to the bathroom, Takuya apologized and took a cold shower to clear his head. Afterward, he thanked them. Kotoko called her friend to bathe together, and they assured him it was spacious. They teased him as they left for the bath. Takuya, a healthy high school boy, couldn't help but wonder what happened when the girls were alone, imagining them complimenting each other passionately. Nervous, he refocused on his work. When the girls emerged, dressed in comfortable clothes and relaxed, Takuya turned to them, noticing their matching hairstyles. They apologized for taking so long, and seeing him frozen, they called him again. He simply said they looked good, thinking their beauty was different from usual. Noticing him staring, the girls reminded him not to look too attentively, feeling embarrassed without makeup. Takuya complimented their natural beauty, and one of them remarked he was very sincere, leaving him surprised. Kotoko commented that she was tired, and her friend asked if they could sleep. Kotoko suggested Takuya sleep in her brother's room, ending the day on a comfortable, friendly note. At that moment, Genocro appeared, startling Takuya. Nervously, he said he was excited, but Genocro remarked that he didn't want that either. After everything settled, the lights went out, and the friends fell asleep together, while Takuya and the boys remained in the same room but separated. It didn't take long for Aki to call out to her friend, saying she was too anxious to sleep. Ki added that it felt like they were on a school trip. Approaching her brother's room, she called to Takuya, teasing him about who his crush was. When Genocro yelled at them to sleep, they quietly left the room. Genocro asked if they were really going to sleep during a sleepover. In his youth, no one ever slept, and his friends used to say it was a waste of time. The girls were delighted to hear that. They agreed that whoever fell asleep first would pay for ice cream, deciding to watch a subtitled movie in a dark room to make it harder to fall asleep. Genocro invited Takuya to join them, reminding him to be quiet since it was late. As they chatted, Takuya reflected on how wonderful youth was. The movie marathon to avoid sleeping began. One of the girls lay down on the mattress, and the other teased her, saying she was going to fall asleep. The girl denied it, then turned to Takuya and asked who he liked. Startled, he asked if they should continue with that line of questioning. Ki commented that she also wanted to know, leaving him no way out. The other girl assured him it would be their secret. Takuya tried to talk about the anime, but they insisted on playing the Who Would You Date game. He thought hard, considering the girls he actually spoke to, and realized it was only the two in front of him. Hearing this, they both cheered. Now it was his turn. He asked the girls who they liked. They looked at each other and simultaneously said it was him, then quickly averted their gaze, leaving him bright red with embarrassment. Ajiki remarked that it was embarrassing to be part of the game, and the girls shifted the conversation back to the movie. The first film ended, and Takuya asked Ki if she was okay. She responded that she had always been a night owl and often stayed up late watching Karaman. He, as a fellow otaku, insisted he couldn't allow himself to lose. The other girl asked if he could stop calling her an otaku, then turned to her friend, asking if she was sleepy. Seeing her look down, she rubbed her eyes and said she wasn't. The girl commented that her friend had been full of energy not long ago, and Takuya told her not to push herself. Shouting playfully, she asked why they thought they'd win. Covering her face with her hands, she declared she wouldn't sleep and threatened to take a picture if they did. As they watched, one girl shifted positions repeatedly until she finally fell asleep on the mattress. Now it was one-on-one. Takuya said he was close but wouldn't lose, and the other girl teased that a Karaman otaku wouldn't win. After a while, the mood started to feel a bit romantic. While watching the movie, Takuya asked his friend why she hid her love for anime. She insisted she didn't, but then lowered her head. Eventually, she admitted she hadn't had anyone to talk to. When she first started watching anime, her classmates discussed celebrities, so she feared feeling out of place. Even when she spoke to other anime fans, they didn't know Karaman. By hiding her hobbies, she felt like she lost a lot of her emotional energy, and the time she used to feel happy became shorter. Takuya thought that someone with such a bright world must carry a lot of worries. Looking at her, the girl said she felt very happy in that. Takuya made her feel good in any version of herself, and it was comfortable being with him. With Takuya, who was also a Karaman fan, she never expected to feel so moved. Takuya felt the same way, reflecting that he had few friends and barely talked to anyone. But talking with the girls felt truly wonderful, giving him hope. He had been thinking a lot lately and realized he was very happy. Time seemed to disappear whenever he was with them. The girl said she felt the same and asked to take a photo so that they wouldn't forget the moment. With their friends asleep, the three of them took a photo together. In the morning, Genocro woke up, wishing the teenagers good morning and asking who had stayed awake all night. Seeing all three asleep, he realized they had completely lost the game.